This is the sexiest goal at the World Cup. Elise's pass was exquisite, Mbappe's finish neat, but it was everything surrounding it that made it special. Today, we're going to take a look at what makes France World Cup favourite, recreate it in FM26, then see if we can stop it. Back to the goal. It's the 66th minute. It's still 0-0, but there's no sign of panic. Behind the ball, there's 4 players. Rabiot has pushed up, but Doué has stayed wide. Dembele is sitting in the hole. We can see Niakate pointing, handing off his marking responsibilities to the midfield, but because his attention is on Dembele, it's not on the space in behind him. That space exists because of every other French player. If Dembele were higher, if Doué tucked inside, if one of the defenders pushed forwards, then Senegal would have collapsed into the box. Instead, we end up with a compact defensive unit doing absolutely nothing. Now that pass from Elise is special. The vision and execution requires a world-class skill set, and Elise most definitely possesses it. And therein lies the secret: world-class players. Shocking, I know, but they still need structure around them, so let's break it down. In deep build-up, it's a 4-2-4. The fullbacks stay back. Dembele pushes forward. Once established, movement was fluid. Tchouaméni tended to stay deep. Doué provided width on the left. Koundé provided width on the right. And Rabiot, Elise and Dembele would drift around freely, like bad jazz. As we saw with the goal, Rabiot would sometimes push high. When play developed down the left, Hernandez would push high too. Whilst different players got forward, staggered depth was always maintained, creating lots of possible passing triangles. Out of possession, France looks to disrupt opposition build-up with a man-to-man press. The general high press is evident, with Dembele applying pressure from the front. Behind it, we see 2 banks of 4 with a reasonably high defensive line. When Senegal pushed forward, Dembele dropped back to help the midfield. In goal, Mainion's distribution was mainly to the centre-backs or full-backs, but occasionally sent it long to the flanks. At centre-back, Upamecano was reasonably central, but occasionally supported wider on the flank and occasionally looked for line-breaking passes. He was partnered by Saliba, who was much more central on the left and made fewer progressive passes. At right back, Koundé stuck to that right touchline, but didn't overcommit going forwards. On the left, Hernandez was not involved as high up and was a little narrower than Koundé. In the pivot, Tchouaméni was the more disciplined midfielder, staying deep, partnered by Rabiot, who kind of floated around without having a specific area of impact. Elise on the right wing was just everywhere. There's this one hot zone on the right near the halfway line, but otherwise he just floated around. It's kind of similar for Dembele as the attacking midfielder, just less of it, almost half the touches of Elise. Doué on the left mainly stuck to the flank, but we can then see him cutting inside in the final third. And up front, Mbappe drifted to the left, but was otherwise a notable box presence, most touches, most shots. Now against Iraq, Elise and Dembele switched positions. Dembele on the right, where he sticks to that flank more before then making incursions into the box. Elise in the middle, however, was just like Elise on the right, kind of everywhere. It was actually a similar setup against Norway too, but that game happened after I did this analysis. A look at the team stats shows that France don't suffocate games. They had more possession than Senegal and Iraq, but not to an extreme degree. And they are not wasteful with their shooting. 30 shots across both games for a combined 4.46 xg. So altogether, we end up with this, a slightly skew-if 4-2-3-1. Koundé is a wingback who dribbles less, Hernandez as a fullback who makes more runs, Rabiot and Dembele are told to roam from position. That instruction is already hard-coded for Elise as the playmaking winger, but he's been asked to cut inside with the ball, as has Doué, a winger who stays wider and makes fewer runs. Instructions are minimal: short passing, short distribution, play through the press, and don't shoot from distance. Out of possession is just a 4-4-2 with Dembele a little deeper than Mbappe. It's a high press with a higher defensive line for that compactness, invite crosses for narrowness. The only player instruction sees the defensive midfielders marked zonally. Now when Elise plays centrally, he becomes an advanced playmaker with roam from position and make fewer runs. Dembele becomes an inside forward with stay wider and cuts inside with the ball. Everything else remained the same. Overall, I prefer him in the more central role, and if the Norway game is anything to go by, maybe Deschamps does too. Right, let's put it to the test. Now I know France's lineup from the Senegal game, and I know their tactic, so let's match it 1 for 1. And obviously I don't expect the game to play out exactly the same way, but the same scoreline is certainly a nice coincidence. We've got a similar situation against Iraq. Let's go with the same real-life lineup and the tactic with Elise more central. And with it, an identical 3-0 win. Norway is where the similarities end. I didn't correctly predict the lineup, nor did the AI mind. A full-strength Norway ran us close, but we made it 3 for 3. Scotland in the second round. Mbappe turned on a dime before slotting home to give us the lead. Elise threaded the needle for Mbappe's 4th goal of the tournament. A comfortable 2-0 win. Germany next, and what should be our biggest test. Until Rudiger went and did Rudiger things. What followed was Mbappe doing Mbappe things. Bradley Barkla thumped one in high at the near post before sweeping home a second just after half-time. A 3-0 demolition. Brazil in the quarter-finals. I must admit, I'm a sucker for a cheeky little dink. I'm less enthusiastic, however, about goalkeepers diving out of the way. Little to worry about though, as Rabiot puts us back ahead immediately before Dembele eases the ball into Mbappe's path to make it 3-1. With 3 minutes remaining, substitutes Cherki and Doué combine. That seals a 4-1 win. We're clearly on the tough side of the draw with Spain next. A little bit of Barkla magic sets us on our way. On the stroke of half-time, Dembele turns and finds the bottom corner. Then, in the final minute of the game, Elise extends our lead further. Another 3-goal winning margin. What could be more fitting than a repeat of the 2022 World Cup final against Argentina? And this time we take the lead. We could not hold on to it though. With the final kick of the first half, Enzo equalises. We have the reigning Ballon d'Or holder, Ousmane Dembele. And could there be a better argument for retaining it than scoring a World Cup final hat-trick and earning a perfect 10.0 rating? With 8 minutes remaining, Rabiot seals an astonishing 4-1 win, and with that, France are your 2026 World Champions. Now I said earlier the secret was world-class players, and it certainly helps, but we steamrolled elite teams. It was at times brutal, and perhaps more importantly, consistent. So I decided to hand it over to Guy Stefan and see if he could do the same, whilst I grabbed myself a Chablis and a croissant. He won the World Cup not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times. Although there was a final defeat to Brazil in there too. So my question now is, how do we stop it? Let's start with a little bit of theory. The 2-3-5 or 3-2-5 shape is designed to stress back 4s. The attacking line can occupy the spaces between and outside defenders. When teams started deploying a back 5 to counter this, attacks responded with a 3-1-6. It's a simple numbers game. The attack wants to create situations where a defender has to decide between 2 players. What makes France effective is that trio of Elise, Dembele and Rabiot, who can float around the pitch, which allows them to create overloads against zonal defences, or, if man-marked, create space in the areas they vacate. So I reckon we need a hybrid of man and zonal marking. Let's start with the slightly more static roles. I want someone to man-mark Mbappe, I want someone to man mark Doué/Barkla. That's nice and simple. At left back, this space could be occupied by Elise, or Koundé, or Dembele, so I don't want my left back to follow one specific player. Instead, I'll get them to mark the area. That left half space is the area most likely to get overloaded. To deal with this, I'm going to ask a defensive midfielder to man mark Dembele and put a centre back in that area on a stopping duty, ready to step up when needed. We have a similar threat of overloading in the right half space, not quite as big. So here I'll have a screening defensive midfielder and covering centre back, players that don't overcommit and are ready to cover that space when needed. Pop a couple of wide midfielders to protect the flanks, and we've got a solid defensive base, and team instructions will keep us narrow and harass the opposition. There's a splitting centre forward because that's how we'll look to score. Their right is the more attacking side, so that's what we'll look to exploit. A channel forward, second striker and wing back on the left to try and stress that flank, with a winger on the other side to maintain width and a box-to-box midfielder to arrive late. We'll look to move the ball quickly down one side, and almost everyone who gets forward is encouraged to shoot. It's a simple plan. We're not going to have much of the ball, but we'll look to frustrate France, then throw everything at their weakest point. So does it work? Once again, Guy Stefan is in charge of France. I now take the reins at Senegal. And the short answer is no, it doesn't work. Not because we conceded a 10th minute penalty, mind, which Mbappe duly converted. In fact, we got a penalty of our own in the 80th minute, and Niakate earned us a 1-1 draw. The issue, quite simply, is that players don't fulfill their assignments. Niakate did not step up to stop threats in the half space. Malang Sarr seemingly does not know what man marking means, although Pape Gueye seemed to do alright, and it didn't matter whether I asked him to mark tighter or not, whether I used opposition instructions or not. Results were fine. Another Niakate penalty earned us another draw. There was a narrow 1-0 defeat, a narrow 2-1 defeat. There was even a shock 2-0 win in the final test. But those results are a reflection of an organised 5-4-1 rather than the specific measures put in place. Due to FM's limitations, I can't actually see if my plan would stifle France's attack. And that's a shame. But this video is about France and what makes them so good. Deschamps' approach creates a platform for his stars to excel, and it's no surprise that they're favourites. Of course, you might not agree. As we enter the knockout rounds, I'd love to know who you think will win the World Cup. Let me know below, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, please consider leaving a like or maybe subscribing. Your support means the world. And if you want to join these wonderful folks currently adorning your screen, you can become a member or Patreon. Links in the description below.